Alright, hello everybody, how we doing? I hope you have all seen that an announcement has gone up for next week's return to college. So we are returning on the Tuesday, so that's the week commencing the 8th. Okay, so we're all going to be on site on Tuesday. Remember, there's only two groups now, A and B. Please make sure you're online for the conference tomorrow at 2:30 PM. That is all groups. Make sure you're all online. Okay, that means Group A, you have no conference in the morning. You just simply need to be on for the afternoon at 2:30, and we're going to go over everything together as a whole class, everybody together, as a course even, us, you guys, me and Leia, okay, and then we'll answer any questions that you might have. But we're going to move on to our video. So it's going to be a fairly short one today, and it's going to be about ecological wildlife monitoring, because a few people have finished their Principles of Ecology booklet now, and I did say that we're going to be doing wildlife projects, so I thought I'd introduce some of the equipment you're going to be using. So it's first off mentioning that we will be using live traps, and we're not going to be using anything kill trap, obviously. It's a monitoring project, so you guys are going to be taking control of it when we get a chance, and we're in and we're doing all our practicals and we're back on site as normal. So I'm going to show you the first piece of equipment, which is called a live trap. So it's a small mammal live trap. There we have it. Okay, show you all sides. There we go. So you see, it's like a small cage. It's got a piece on the top, a plate, so if you do catch anything, the animal can't bite you through when you're carrying it around. So you see that. So if you've got a rabbit or something it's trying to claw its way through, or a squirrel, I'm just going to show you how to quickly set it. So we have a tread here at the back. That's the main thing that you need to be concerned with, because that's how you set it up. You'd put feed and bait or whatever's going to attract the animal here at the very back. So when it moves through, it steps on the tread. I'm going to show you how it works. So we have a lock mechanism up here. We need to lift that up. You see? Don't worry if you don't get this all. We're gonna go over it in class. Fingers through the handle. Thumb on the pad. Push it in. So the door goes in, and then I'm going to lift up, okay, and I'm just going to hold it up. You see, I've lifted the door now so the animal can get in. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to lift the pad, alright, and you can see there's a little hook here at the top, so lift the door up nice and tight, and then I'm going to push it through, and you can see the hook there has hooked it together. And then what happens is, as the animal's coming in, scuttle, rabbit, more likely a rabbit than anything, because this is what these are made for particularly, or squirrels, feeds at the back, I'll show you, steps here on the plate, door closes. I'm just going to move the camera back there, because that jumped it a little bit. So I'll show you one more time, guys. So I'm not going to twist it around this time. Lift up the lock, fingers through the handle, thumb on the pad, push up, lift the door up nice and high, and then I'm going to lift the tread, the pad at the back, which is going to put the hook on at the front there, you see, and there, that's that, and that's it. Okay, so we're going to leave these out. Now legally we have to check these twice a day, but we will be checking them more if we do leave them out, and we will be getting permission from the college in areas that we can use them, and we will be identifying whatever we do catch. Oh. Okay, and these need to be covered as well. You couldn't just put this out, because obviously it's exposed to the environment and it wouldn't be good for the animal. Okay, so these would be covered. You'd have food in here, you could have like a tarp over the top or something like that, yeah. So you've got that there, so you just sort that. Okay, the next one is a smaller version. So you see, these are primarily used for indoors. Okay, so we might be able to put some of these around the labs or anything like that. This is different slightly because it's made of different material, obviously. It's a little bit more flimsier, but it has this as well, a little detachable back. This is called a nesting chamber, and you can put lots of straw and hay and things like that in for a mouse that might go in. It can make a little bed in, make it feel a little bit more comfortable, food and things, and that just attaches like that. And it's the same principle. You can see there's a tread there that the animal would step on, so there's food and stuff here at the back. So I'm just going to put this together again. Okay, so that's together. Here's the door. I'm simply going to lift up the green bit, lift it up, and you can see the plastic bit there keeps it in place. And then when the animal, I'll show you, when the animal walks over the tread to get to the chamber, simply closes the door. Dead simple, really easy piece of kit. So there's that one. We're also going to be looking for bats at some point. Okay, hopefully we might be able to find some here. So this is called a bat detector. It's also known as a heterodyne detector. So it's got the frequency at which bats call, because obviously they don't scream or shout to each other, they use echolocation, don't they? So it's got the frequency there. Got a little torch on the side, and I'll show you how to use this when we're in lessons more than anything. But turn it on, you hear it. When a bat flies past, you can hear it. It's like a clicking noise, click, 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 click as it goes. But just to check it's working, there you go. See, it's picking up the vibrations, the noises that is coming off my fingers. So just, there we go. Okay, and you can change the frequency at which bat. And depending on the frequency depends on the bat species, okay? Dead simple. I'm just going to turn that off. We'll go into more detail with that kind of when we're on site though, alright? Hopefully we'll be able to find them. Now all the bats at the minute, they are hibernating. They are starting to come out of hibernation towards the end of this month. So we hopefully will start seeing some. They do hibernate through the winter in the UK, alright? The last bit of equipment that we're going to be using is this. Alright, and I'll show you. Oh, it's screwed together. I'll show you in detail probably later. It's screwed together so I can't get it off in a minute, but a trail camera. Okay, so here we have an infrared trail camera, goes this way. So these are the infrared, so it can see anything at night time if it takes a photo. This is the camera itself, and this is the sensor. So if anything moves in front of it, it triggers the sensor, infrareds turn on for night vision, and it takes the photo. Alright, so I'll show you more detail on that later as well, and I'll go over everything more with you. This is a tree protector on the back, and you see it's got these like ribbons, these rasps that we hold on, and this just attaches it to the tree. So we'll be setting all this equipment up around site. We'll be making a log of what we find, which species are where. I already know that there's things like rabbits on site, obviously foxes, deer, badgers. Obviously you've done the badgers with the lane before. There'll be rats and mice around. There's birds of prey, I've been told. So we're going to see what we can find and identify, and we'll get a good picture of what wildlife live here. And it's, you know, that's going to be an ongoing project, so we'll be doing that kind of as we complete our course and as we're working through stuff. And what I'd like is for you guys to really take control. So you go and check the traps, you tell me what's in them, you tell me if there's any issues. I can come out and we can do that kind of stuff. There is a lot of legislation that goes along with these things. We can do that as we're going, so we know exactly how we're you know, fitting in with the law, so we're not harming any wildlife or anything like that. And it's going to be a really good project, okay? So that's how we're going to be monitoring. I am going to be talking a little bit about the UK and its policies on culling as well, but I'm going to do that next. I'll put up a photo and then we can go over it. I know some of you have gone over badger culling because that was a big thing for Britain from 1998 to 2005. So, you know, that's one side of conservation as well that we'll discuss next, all right? But for the meantime, that's what we're going to be using. Our infrared trail camera, our bat detector, small mammal trap, a live trap, remember, trip trap, and then our larger mammal trap. Okay, I'll set this one more time for you. Remember, lift the lock, push it in, make sure it's lifted up, the door that is, lift the pad. You can see the hook. I'll just show you one more time. You see this hook here? That's what we need hooked on. So lift up with the pad, make sure the hook's on, and there we go, and that's ready to go. And we would cover this and put feed in at the back. Hopefully the camera's not going to fall when I do that, and when it steps on the pad, there we go. Okay, so that's the equipment we're going to be using. I'll just show you it down quickly there. So there's the four main types: camera, bat detector, small trip trap, larger mammal trap. Okay, so nice quick video introduction to that, and then I'll go over the culling side of things next as well. Obviously we're not going to cull anything, but it's, you know, it's good to know because the UK did have policies on the badger cull, and obviously, you know, people do hunt in the UK as well. All right. So what we've done there, everybody, is we've had a look at practical wildlife monitoring tools, but what we're also going to have a quick look at today is practical conservation, and one of those things is actually the use of culling. And culling, to do that, you use weapons such as this, which is an air rifle that shoots out little lead pellets. Culling can be a very practical conservation tool in terms of if you have invasive species that are damaging wildlife and you need to get rid of them, or it can also help keep numbers in control for wildlife to kind of thrive. One of the things we've looked at is the badger here in the classes, and I know you've done a little bit of work with Elaine. So for those of you that don't know, there was a badger cull from 1998 to 2005 because they believed it carried tuberculosis to cattle for farmers. So actually around 11,000 badgers were culled in Britain in those years. And it's very interesting. We'll have a look at that later on down the line. Obviously they used a larger weapon to cull a badger because it's a big animal, but again they were doing that to try and keep the numbers under control because they believed that it carried a disease that was passed on to cattle that was affecting the food market. Another animal that gets culled, which you'll all be very familiar with here, the grey squirrel. It's invasive, it's not native, and it's actually damaging our wildlife, and it's actually outcompeting our native red squirrels. So they are an invasive species that gets culled. And we also have several deer species. So here we have an animal called the muntjac, which is an invasive deer species that's allowed to be culled year round. And also we have another species here called the Chinese water deer. Looks like a little bear. You can see it's got fangs. So culling can be a very practical, useful tool in conservation. All right, everybody. So that was just a very, very brief introduction into kind of ecology to go with your Principles of Ecology work booklet. Obviously, we've had a look at our different monitoring techniques that we're going to use and our equipment. So what we're going to be doing is live capturing animals, identifying them, releasing them, and then kind of re-releasing them if we catch them again. And we're going to get a big idea of what lives where here on the campus on site. All right. We've also gone a little bit into detail about culling, and that is important because that is a practical conservation tool as well that's used, like I said, here in Britain. But it's also used in countries such as South Africa, where they cull things like the antelopes, and it helps keep the populations of different animals in check. So if you have too many of one animal, think about what's going to happen in a food chain, a food web. Think about the different trophic levels that we've been going on about in ecology. Okay, so remember we have a lecture about our return to college on Thursday at 2:30. That's for everybody, all groups. Please make sure you are there, and we can go over everything, any questions, all that kind of thing. And yeah, guys, I'll see you then. All right, stay safe.